Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to How to Improve Your SEO Strategy to Increase Traffic to Your Website with Stephanie Alston. My name is Colin Mahan, and I'm a program manager at the Nasdaq Entrepreneurial Center. And for those of you who may not know, the Nasdaq Center is a nonprofit that's building a better path for entrepreneurs worldwide by improving inclusion, access, and knowledge in entrepreneurship. As you may have just seen in that chat, the Nasdaq Center, along with our partner Mentor Cloud, launched a free mentor matching platform for entrepreneurs called Mentor Makers. You can create your own advisory board to guide and inspire you with in-the-moment mentorship from topic experts and professionals dedicated to providing exceptional mentorship to entrepreneurs across all races, industries, and geographies. So find or become a mentor today by using the link in the chat. Mentorship matters to all entrepreneurs. Their success is dependent on it. Quick housekeeping item, we're going to open up for live Q&A at the end of the event, so please submit your questions in the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen throughout the presentation. We'll try to get to them all. Now, none of what we do here at the center could be possible without all the amazing support from our sponsors, including Nasdaq, Lehigh University, Bank of the West, KPMG, Wilson Sonsini, Woodruff Sawyer, and BPM. We're grateful and humbled by their contributions. Now, during these still unique times, we're curious on how sentiment is with the entrepreneurs that we work with. So I'm just going to start by taking a quick poll to let us know how you're feeling about your business right now. So thank you for participating. This helps us understand where the pulse of our community is. Hello from Queensland. Hello from Mexico. All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for participating in that poll. I'm going to end this poll and share those results. Looks like optimism is the leader, but know that there's a little bit of anxiety, survival mode, and a little bit of fear out there. So hopefully our presentation today will help alleviate some of those sentiments. So without any further delay, please join me in giving a warm welcome to our special guest. Stephanie Alston is the founder of Black Girl Group. Stephanie, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to hopefully help change the minds of some of the people. I saw the stat go up of how many people were feeling a little bit of anxious and anxiety. And so I'm hoping I can help by the end of this presentation.
I'm sure you will. Thanks again. And over to you, Stephanie.
All right. All right, good afternoon and good morning to everyone, and welcome to How to Improve Your SEO Strategy to Increase Traffic to Your Website. As Colin mentioned, I am Stephanie Alston, and I am the CEO of Black Girl Group, and we are a full-service creative staffing agency that connects men and women of color to companies seeking to hire more diverse talent in marketing, media, communications, advertising, and design. So you may be wondering, what does the CEO of a staffing agency have to tell me about how to increase traffic to your website? And I'm so glad you asked. I'm also a former journalist, a freelance publicist, an SEO consultant with over a decade of experience. And yes, you guessed it, I am an overall superwoman. So before we begin today, I want to share just a few myths about websites, because I think it's very important that I lay the foundation before we begin today's presentation. So myth number one is that once your website is online, you'll automatically attract new visitors. And I wish I could tell you that this was true, but in fact, it's absolutely not. In fact, once you get your website online, that is only the beginning of a very long process. Now, you may be on here and you're thinking already that you should fire your web developer because you've already spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on a website that's not bringing in new revenue or new traffic. But I'll just let you know, it's probably not your web developer's fault. In fact, if they don't have a background in SEO, it would be really hard for them to launch your website the correct way. And so today I'm going to give you a few tips on how you can fix your lack of traffic that you may be experiencing within your business. Myth number two, only online businesses need a website. Again, completely false. It doesn't matter if you're selling online or if you're a mom and pop shop or if you're a local moving company. You need a website. It's important for you to know that your website is your digital footprint. And if you want people to find you in this day and age with technology, you must have a website. In fact, there's a new restaurant that just was built a few weeks ago down the street. You want to know the first thing that I did? And it wasn't go knock on the door and look at the menu. It was I Googled them to see what kind of food they serve, what the existing reviews were, and a host of other things. Again, it doesn't matter how big or how small your company is, you need to have a website. And then lastly, I hear this myth a lot. You need a bigger social media audience more than you need a website. And that is not true at all. If any of you go to my personal social media, you'll see I don't have tens of thousands of followers. And you want to know why? Because my social media isn't generating revenue or traffic for me. In fact, it's my website that brings in revenue for me. So if you think that you have to have a perfectly curated social media page in order for you to even need a website, I want to dispel that myth today once and for all. And if you're a social media manager on here, I promise I'm not trying to put you out of business. I just want to be really honest with all of our business owners out there to let them know that your website should be your priority right now, especially if you're looking to, one, increase traffic, but also increase the revenue that you're generating within your business. So I want to share a couple of statistics with you as it relates to Google search, specifically in the US market. So Google processes 8.5 billion searches per day. I'm going to let that sit with you for a moment. That's 8.5 billion searches per day. That tells me and should also tell you that no matter what you do, people are searching for your products and services on Google. Now, I know you may be thinking, oh, well, Stephanie, what about Yahoo? What about Bing? What about some of these other search engines out there? And they're all important as well. But Google is the #1 search engine in the world. And so I want to make sure that I'm equipping you specifically on how you can increase your ranking and traffic through Google. So as you can see, it really doesn't matter what purpose you serve as a business owner. People are always searching. And again, 8.5 billion searches per day. So as you'll see from this screenshot, backpacks alone gets 96,000 searches per day. 96,000. And that's just the word backpacks. Nothing big and nothing large, backpack. Again, people are always searching online, and no matter what you service, people are looking for words that relate to what it is that you have to offer. Shameless plug, SEO. SEO receives 212,000 searches per day. And what that tells me is that the more a word is searched, that means it's more important to you. So just knowing alone that 212,000 searches per day are done on the word SEO, that should let you know that it's time to wake up, pay attention, and get your SEO strategy in order. So here's a little bit of reality. 90.80% of pages get no organic search traffic from Google. So remember I started off saying that 8.5 billion searches are done per day? Well, it's pretty shocking to know that 90.80% of pages actually don't get any of that traffic that those 8.5 billion searches actually bring back. And this is based on a study of over 920 million web pages. So at the end of the day, I want you all to know that because you're on this presentation, you're now going to get the opportunity to gain some insight and information to make sure that you're not in that 90.88%. You're going to be the one who stands above all of your competition by the end of this presentation. So today I'm going to teach you about attracting traffic from the world's largest search engine. And of course, that's Google. So one of my favorite things to talk about is keyword research. And I could talk about keyword research all day because it's the one thing that changed the livelihood of my business and also my website. And the moment I learned the technique of keyword research, I kid you not, I started to see the profits within my business go through the roof. So you may be saying, Stephanie, what is keyword research? And I'm going to define that for you today. And then I'm going to give you a few examples on how you can get it done for your business. So keyword research is a process by which you research popular search terms people type into search engines like Google and include them strategically in your content so that your content appears higher on a search engine results page. In order for you to begin increasing traffic to your website, you must first find relevant keywords that people are searching for and see how these queries fit into your business. So when conducting keyword research, always know that your customers come first. I also want you to know that you'll always want to act like a customer, or you always want to act like a business, but think like a customer. For example, let's explore the keyword cheap hotels. via a free resource that I was able to obtain called wordtracker.com. And I want you guys to write this down, and it'll also be on the slide that you'll receive at the end of this presentation, because I'll be sharing lots of free resources throughout this presentation to make sure that even if you're working on a lean budget, you'll still have the opportunity to win successfully in SEO. So going back to wordtracker.com, as you can see from the shop below, there is an option for you to type in the keyword that relates to your business. In this example, we're going to use cheap hotels. As you will see, typing in the word cheap hotels generated 437 keywords. Now you may be looking at this list like, okay, what do I do next? What does this have to do with me? And it has a lot to do with you when building content out. Before you even launch your website, you have to remember that there are things that you have to say on your website in order for it to be able to stick with your customer. By doing keyword research, you're able to identify what other words people are searching for when they're looking for your business. So here you'll see cheap hotels. You'll see a list of keywords that I encourage you, once you get the list for your business, that you export it, and then you're able to look at all 437 or however many words are generated for your particular business. So as you see, with cheap hotels alone, you see hotels near me, motels, cheap hotels near me, cheap motels near me, pet-friendly hotels, Priceline hotels, and the list goes on and on. These are words that you must incorporate into your website content. And when I say content, I'm talking about your homepage, I'm talking about the About Us page, I'm talking about the Meet the Teams page, I'm talking about the services page, and I think you get my point. You want to make sure that these words are included throughout your website. Now, I want to caution you, be careful with keyword stuffing. You don't want to overdo it, because then that could get you in trouble with Google as well. But I want you to keep these keywords in mind, especially if you're someone who believes in the power of blogging, which is something that I strongly advise many companies to do. It's the one thing that people forget to do or they overlook. So let's say if you launch a new website and you have a news tab or you have a blog, what you can do is you can literally use these keywords to help guide what the title of your blog should be. I kid you not, it's that simple. You could literally have a blog post entitled Cheap Hotels Near Me, and you can provide a list of hotels that are nearby. Again, cheap hotels is just the example right now, but let's say you're a moving company. Once you do your keyword research and you're able to generalize what your keyword list looks like, once you do, use those words to help you figure out what types of blog content you should be posting. So as a moving company, maybe people are searching for, what do I need to do to prepare for my next move? You answer that question in your blog post, or maybe you have something that comes up that says, who is the cheapest moving company near me? That can give you an opportunity to give a shameless plug to your business in the blog. Again, you want to make sure that you use the keyword research. It's almost like the cheat code, right? Or no, it's not almost, it is the cheat code. If you want to know what your customer is thinking, use keyword research. I want to encourage you to stop trying to figure out what it is that your customer is looking for. You have all the answers here. And again, this resource is free. So I encourage you to take advantage of it. So now we're going to jump into a little bit of information about on-page SEO. So on-page SEO is a practice of optimizing individual web pages in order to rank higher and earn more relevant traffic in search engines. On-page refers to both the content and HTML source code of a page that can be optimized, as opposed to off-page SEO, which refers to links and other external signals. And I'll get into technical SEO and off-page SEO a little bit later on in this presentation. So this is what on-page SEO looks like. I am sure you all have seen this page thousands or maybe even millions of times in your lifetime. So, just full transparency, I use dark mode on my computer. So on your computer, the hyperlinks are still probably blue, but maybe your wording is in black instead of white. But I want to point that out just in case someone says, I've never seen that page before. So as you can see, the words that are hyperlinked in blue, those are what we like to call title tags. If you search for any competitive keyword, you'll notice that the top ranking pages almost all use that exact keyword in their title tag. And again, we're still using the example of cheap hotels. So as you can see, all these pages want to rank for the word cheap hotels. So you know what they did? They put cheap hotels in their title tag. Again, the cheat code. Next, you have target keywords. All you need to do is use your main keyword, hint cheap hotels, once in the first 100 to 150 words of your content. For example, in an article optimized around the keyword cheap hotels, mention that keyword right off the bat on your site. Google puts more weight on terms that show up early and frequently on your pages. Up next, write compelling meta descriptions. Now, you may be thinking, what in the world is a meta description? Again, I'm here to answer that question for you. The paragraph below your title tag, that is your meta description. It is commonly overlooked, and it's one thing that people often don't think about writing whenever they're creating websites. Now, I will tell you that in most cases, even if you don't write a meta description, 9 times out of 10, Google will pull content already from your page and fill it in for you, but you don't want that. You want to make sure that you're concise, but that you're also creating the answers that people are looking for in your meta description. Meta descriptions are not a ranking factor, but they're still important because an enticing description can lead to more clicks and traffic. A few quick tips when writing meta descriptions are use keywords, be concise, match search intent, and speak to your customer. I also encourage for a very strong call to action. So as you can see here, Kayak, for example, you'll see on the left-hand side, it says Kayak searches for hotel deals on hundreds of hotel comparison sites. They help you find cheap hotels, that keyword, holiday lettings, bed and breakfast, motels, inns, and more. Now, I really like this meta description. The only thing I would recommend is if you're a small business and you're writing a meta description, make sure that you have a clear call to action. So maybe that is call us today, or maybe, contact us via email today. If you can get that information in that one little paragraph, once people click on there, they'll know exactly how to contact you if they decide they're interested in your service. So here's how to edit on-page SEO. Now, I am a little biased, and I'm really sorry for all of you out there who may use Weebly or Squarespace or Shopify, but this is for WordPress only. I will tell you that in most cases, the lingo does not change. So if you go on the back end of your Shopify, your Weebly, or any other website provider that you use, you should be able to find this information. But again, the example on the left is for WordPress only, but it spells out exactly how to edit your title tags and meta descriptions. Remember, WordPress is SEO friendly, and that is not an advertisement. I'm just strictly speaking from my own example. So as you can see on the left-hand side, you have SEO title. Again, that's your title tag. So make sure you're very straightforward with whatever it is that your page has to offer. And then down below, there's the meta description. You'll want to make sure you're giving a clear, concise description of the page that you're writing the description for, and then give a clear call to action. So a couple other things to keep in mind when doing on-page SEO is crawling your website, conducting an SEO audit, track keywords and competitors, and also make sure URLs are constantly updated. So lots of people don't understand how to crawl your website, and I'm not judging you because in all honesty, I don't know how to crawl my own website either, or at least I didn't until I ran into this free resource called sureoak.com. So sureoak.com is a free SEO website crawler and site spider tool. This gives you the opportunity to try out their free website crawler to test how Google sees your website, scan URLs, and perform link checking. Their spider tool is also browser-based only, so you don't have to worry about downloading any new tools to your computer. Simply type in your simply type in your domain, and then you can check your SEO score and also find out if it's actually being seen by Google. If not, it lets you know that's step A for you, is to make sure that your website is crawlable. Next, conduct an SEO audit. Now, I'll be honest that conducting an SEO audit can take you back to your grade school days because you are graded A, B, C, D, and F, and there is not any grading on a curve. In fact, they are pretty straightforward. So if you type in your website on this free SEO audit tool and you luck out and you actually end up receiving an A, great job. That means you have very to little no work to do on your website. All you need to do is maintain. Now, if you get a B, fantastic. It just means, again, you need to work a little bit harder to push towards that A. Now, if you get a C, then you may want to begin rethinking your SEO strategy a little bit more, simply because the lower your score is, the worse off you'll perform within your competitors, within your competitor. And then if you have a D and F, it's time to call an SEO professional and see if you can figure out how you can fix your website. The great thing about this free SEO tool is that it gives you the opportunity to see exactly what you need to fix. So if you need to fix broken links, if you need to improve your content, if you have duplicate content, if you have poor external linking, this will actually break down, in addition to your grade, what things you need to do in order to accomplish that A or B that we hope you aim for. And then once you've got your website up and running, begin identifying what keywords you want to track. So you remember that list a few slides ago that broke down the different keywords? You'll want to track those keywords. You want to see what their search volume continues to be as time goes on, because obviously keywords are not always performing the same way every single day. So one day you may have a keyword that has 10,000 searches. Another day it may only have 2,000. You want to make sure you're tracking that keyword volume. But most importantly, you want to track the keywords on your website and see how you stack up against your competitors out there, whether they're your large competitors or even your smaller competitors. You can do this through Google AdWords. So if you have a Gmail account, or you even have just a simple Google account that you utilize for workspaces, you can utilize Google Keywords, Google AdWords, their keyword planner, to be able to help guide you through tracking the keywords on your website. So here's another tool. You want to make sure that your URLs are updated. And by updated, I mean that they're not broken, that your inbound and outbound links both are not broken. But you also want to make sure that when people click certain links, they actually go to the page that they're clicking on. There is nothing worse for the user experience to have broken links, because in fact, if you have a ton of broken links on your website, there is not a chance that you will be able to rank number one in Google on anything. So you want to use this free tool from ahrefs.com that allows you, again, to simply type in your domain, and it lets you know what links you have on your website that are broken. I'm all about free, so I hope you guys are writing these resources down, because literally it does the hard work for you. So now we're going to go into the topic of link building. Now, if you have a website of any kind, I am sure that you have had people reach out to you from across the country asking you if you would be open to doing link building for them. I'm sorry, if they could do link building for you. And you may not really even be sure what that is or the power of it. And so I'm going to help you learn a little bit more about link building today. So link building is a search engine optimization technique that increases your search engine ranking. Links are one of the primary ways that search engine algorithms determine the relevance of a page. So having a good number of links to a website indicates that your content is valuable. So remember that the more links you have, the more valuable, but you must have good links. That's the key word of the day, good links. So there are two different types of links that you can have on your website. One is a no follow and the other is do follow. So no follow links are typically used when you want to link to another website, but don't want to tell Google to crawl that site. So those are the little annoying links that you see on websites where you click and it takes you absolutely nowhere. But you're like, but I know there's a source, let me click on it. No follow means you can't click on it, but you literally have to copy and paste that link in order to go to the next page. If you want to make a link no follow on your website, but you still think it's valuable, to designate a link as a no follow link, you'll need to add the attribute rel equals no follow into the links code. No follow links will inform Google that the link shouldn't pass PageRank. Then we have do follow links. On the other hand, are regular links with attributes that would inform Google the link should pass PageRank. So these are my favorite kind of links, because when you click on them, they actually take you somewhere. Generally, it's to an external site. But again, these are the kind of links that you want to have within your website. Now we have links from users. So I know we've all seen these before. User-generated links are still used. However, they're not considered a healthy way to link build in today's online world. And if anyone tries to tell you any differently, they're lying. User-generated links are sometimes created by you with the intent to promote your work. They're also generally lower quality than other link building methods that Google prefers. Some examples of links from users include unmoderated blog comments, embedded infographics, widgets, profile pages of users, press releases, or guest post signatures with heavily optimized anchor text and advertisements. So to break this down a little bit more for you, links from users are, those comments that you see on YouTube where you watch the video and you go through the comment section if you're like me, I actually scroll the comment section while watching the video. You'll see someone post a comment that has absolutely nothing to do with the topic at hand, and then they'll include a link like, hey, follow my website. And those are what we like to call links from users. Those can be really toxic for your website, because what Google sees it as a way of you trying to say, hey, look at me, without actually providing any relevant information. So if anyone ever reaches out to you and says, hey, I can do link building for you, and you ask them what that entails, and they say, oh, I'll get comments for you, I'll post the blogs and forums, no, that's a red flag. And you want to make sure that you're minimizing those links. Now, if you're somebody who's already paid for that service and you have a ton of those out there, you want to make sure that you go in and you get all those links deleted, because again, you don't want to do anything toxic externally that's going to impact your internal website rankings. So another type of link building is natural links from other sites. So natural links occur more organically from readers who come across your website, including a link on their blog or website without being asked. With this link type, you don't have to ask other webmasters or users to give you a backlink. So I actually have a ton of natural links from other sites. Typically, this happens whenever you're actually providing valuable information to your audience. Another potential audience will see it, they'll see that it adds value, and they'll want to share it on their website. This is also great because anytime you see someone else post about your content, you could do a good deed and also post stuff about their business as well. You don't have to do that, but I mean, that could be your way of saying thank you for acknowledging my great content. This means also you are more likely to see natural links in videos, blog posts, news stories, images, and other product listings on someone else's website. So again, this could be a news article as well. You know, someone may quote you as your website as a source, again, because you provided that valuable information. Let's say if you are a local restaurant and you recently, wrote a blog post during the time of COVID, how to keep your restaurant safe during COVID. Well, someone could read that blog post on your restaurant website, and then they'll want to share that on their website. Again, that's what we like to call natural links from other sites. So I'm going to expand a little bit more on exactly how you can build links the right way. So I've given you examples of each type of links, but now I'm going to tell you how you can actually build them for your site. One, you can request links. So if you're interested in getting a backlink from a particular website, that could help boost your website or page authority, chances are you will need to contact the website's owner directly to make it happen. So that could even be as far as reaching out to a Forbes, an Entrepreneur, an Inc., another not competitive business, but a business that complements your business, and reaching out to them saying, hey, I have this great blog post. I think it could add value to your site. Would you mind sharing it and then linking back to me? So this can actually be a win-win for the both of you. One, if they say yes, then you're now providing valuable information to their audience. It also gives you an opportunity to talk to another audience that maybe you didn't even know you wanted to talk to. In reverse, you could then offer to say, hey, if you write about me, then I'll write about you on my website, or I'll give you a link back on our resources page. Whatever that looks like for you, it should be an equal exchange. So then that way your business wins, but you're also helping a complementary business as well. Now, again, going back to say a transportation company, you don't really want to request a link from a competitive company. One, that could be a slap in the face. That's like McDonald's going to Burger King saying, hey, can you advertise my new sandwich on your website or on your social media? Absolutely not. But again, if you want to make sure that you're reaching complementary audiences, that would be the equivalent to McDonald's going to Disney World saying, hey, can we advertise on your page? And hopefully that makes sense to you all. Another way you can build links is by manually adding links. Manual link builder refers to placing links yourself, whether that's in a blog comment, on a guest post, or in a press release. So these are the user-generated links that we talked about earlier. Again, while this is not a tactic that I highly recommend, people do use it in a useful way and in a non-toxic way, like they're actually providing value. But just know when you're manually adding links, the chances of it substantially impacting your SEO rankings are probably slim to none. And now we have the option for you to earn links. To gain a true competitive advantage through links, you should adopt a strategy that will allow you to earn editorial place links. So these are links that come to you without asking. And honestly, we call it earned links in SEO, but as a publicist, we just call that publicity, right? So anytime you have a company, a website, a local newspaper, a magazine, and the list goes on. Anytime you have a company mention you and they don't put a link there, reach out to them and say, hey, I see you mentioned my business on your website, or I see you mentioned my business in your news article. Would you mind linking back to my website, or would you mind linking back specifically to this page? 9 times out of 10, because the editor of that article really wants to be able to champion other businesses, they'll say yes. You just want to make sure you ask. But again, this is one of the most organic pieces of link building that you can actually implement into your strategy. Now we're going to get into the not so fun part of SEO. And I'll be honest, I am not a technical SEO expert, but I'm going to show you how you can figure things out and the things that you can ask your web developer or whoever creates your website to dig a little deeper on. So technical SEO refers to website and server optimizations that help search engine spiders crawl and index your site more effectively to help improve organic rankings. So when you're trying to create a great technical SEO landscape for your business, you'll first want to update your page experience. So Google's new page experience signals combine core web vitals with their existing search signals, including mobile friendliness, safe browsing, HTTPS security, and intrusive guidelines. You'll also want to crawl your site and look for any crawl areas. You want to be sure your site is free from any crawl errors. Crawl errors occur when a search engine tries to reach a page on your website but fails. You can use Screamer Crawl, Deep Crawl, SEO Clarity, and also the resource I provided with you earlier on. Once you've crawled the site, you're able to then look for any crawl errors. And again, that site will tell you exactly how to fix those errors, so you don't have to worry about trying to figure it out on your own. Fix broken links. So like I mentioned earlier, poor link structure can cause a poor user experience for both humans and search engines. So if you have broken links, you'll want to fix those ASAP. And one way of being able to identify what a broken link is, that's the same thing as a 404 error. So anytime you see 404 error coming up, not only on your website, but on someone else's website, that means they have a broken link problem. A quick little tip for you is that if you're trying to build links on a complimentary site, anytime you come across a broken link, reach out to that webmaster and say, hey, did you know this link was broken? They'll come back and say, yes, thank you so much. I appreciate your feedback. Use that as a way to bait them and say, hey, I also offer XYZ, or I also recently wrote this blog post. Would you mind sharing this as a thank you of finding this broken link on your site? And sometimes they say no, or they completely annoy you, but sometimes they say yes, just because you took time out of your busy schedule during COVID, even though some people think COVID is over, to be able to identify that you have a broken link on your website. Up next, get rid of any duplicate or thin content. So it's been said that you should have content on your website that's 500 words or more. Now that continues to be an ongoing debate in the SEO world, but make sure you don't have a ton of thin content throughout your website. Duplicate content alone is very different. Duplicate content really involves you or someone else literally copying and pasting and sharing your exact same information on their website or vice versa. Duplicate content can be caused by many factors, including page replication, or as mentioned, copied content. Lastly, you want to ensure that your site has an optimized XML sitemap. You can check to see if your site has a sitemap by visiting sitecheckup.com. Again, a free resource. All you need to do is type in your website. It'll tell you if you have a sitemap. If you don't have a sitemap, pause, get a sitemap. You can actually go through your Google Analytics and generate a sitemap. All right. Well, thank you all so much for your time. I'm excited about being able to open up and answer a few questions that you may have. But in the meantime, I do want to throw my information up here for you. In case you have any questions, there is my Instagram, my Twitter, my LinkedIn, as well as my personal website, and also my email address. And I am a fully transparent person. I'm always here to give back and share information about SEO. So if you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to me directly. I'm always here to be of service to you all.
I love it. Thank you so much, Stephanie. What a great overview. All right, before we jump into Q&A, a quick poll that will help us understand the programming that we should be hosting in the next couple of months. So participate in that poll. If you have any specific questions for Stephanie, again, drop those into the Q&A box. We hope to get to as many of them live as possible. So there is no question too small or large, I hope, for Stephanie. Thank you for participating in this poll. Looks like marketing is the winner. No wonder, because we're all here for a marketing presentation on SEO. All right, sales, marketing, finance, live with the surviving, and team. Cool. Well, thank you all so much for sharing those results. Let's jump into some of the Q&A. All right, Stephanie. Will we get these references? Yes, the deck will be shared after that, after the presentation. Somebody said sitecheckup.com is a broken link. It has an error. Not sure what to do there.
I'll fix that in the presentation with the correct link then.
Okay, great. And I'm sure just Googling sitecheckup.com might help.
Yes.
Get them there. What was the SEO audit and research tool that you mentioned?
I will include that on the deck. I can't think of it off top because I gave out so many resources, but I will share that in the other.
I think one of them was wordtracker.com that you mentioned.
Yes, yeah, wordtracker.com is for keyword research. Yes.
Okay, awesome. All right. What are your thoughts on relying on Yoast, all-in-one, ranked math, etc.?
Okay, so I didn't want to get too deep in that because I didn't want to confuse people and overload with too many resources, but I highly actually recommend that you use the Yoast plugin. And so if I'm not mistaken, I think Shopify also has a Yoast plugin. WordPress definitely does. And there's a free plugin too. So if you use the Yoast plugin, it'll also do the same thing where it'll help you see if your SEO title tags are strong enough. It'll show you exactly where to type in your meta descriptions, and it'll actually turn green if it's good enough. And so, yes, I definitely highly recommend Yoast, and that's Yoast. But make sure you're downloading the free plugin, especially, again, if you're working on a lean budget.
Yep. I personally have used Yoast, and it is great. And I'm always going for the green line that you're talking about.
Always. It's like a game. That's why I like it.
Alrighty. What do you think about using JSON metadata for SEO?
I have no idea what that is, and I'm not going to.
JSON metadata. Maybe Juanita can give us a little bit of color for that. Let's see. Presentation. What do you define as thin content?
So this is a big debate in the SEO world right now. There are lots of people who think that anything less than 500 words is considered thin content. It depends on how strong the rest of your website is. So I think it's okay if you do have a page or two of, say, 250 to 300 words on your site. But if you have an entire website that generally every single page has less than 500 words, then that's considered thin content.
Yeah, and Yoast will tell you if
it will. It's not long enough. Like, it'll scream at you.
Another question's from Alejandro. Do you need programming skills to do this?
No, you don't. And again, going back and mentioning Yoast helps guide you through that back end process. Now, I will say that in terms of the technical SEO piece, which I touched on at the end of the presentation, that does require not necessarily programming skills, but more technical skills, because you don't want to go too far in the back end and end up breaking your site either. So when it comes to, fixing crawl errors, or even in some cases, if you're not paying attention to details, even fixing broken links can get you in trouble. And so I would recommend that you hire someone specifically who does technical SEO to go in and fix those errors for you. And there are sites out there like Fiverr, for example, that will help, you identify someone who could fix a broken link for you at a pretty low cost.
All right, Juanita came back with a little bit more information on JSON. JSON metadata is JavaScript object notation. It uses to organize content for SEO crawling optimization. So what do you think about using that?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a good tool, but that's more of the technical SEO side. And so if you don't have technical SEO skills or the programming skills, I would just say be very careful going in and fixing those things on your own.
Great. And she says it's not a tool, it's a method.
Oh, it's a method. Oh, yeah, I have no idea.
Alrighty. Well, there's a million ways to skin a cat, as they say.
Correct. Exactly. Yes, 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 yes.
Awesome. Let's see. How do you differentiate a good keyword between a bad one? I've heard that we shouldn't always go for the highest count and try to go for smaller ones that focus on more niche markets.
I think you do a combination of both. Like I showed earlier with wordtracker.com, it gives you a list of the top keywords, but also some of the lower ranking keywords. But just know if you aim for the bottom, you're going to get bottom fruit. And so for me, I try to make sure that I am giving a good balance of some of those lower ranking keywords, but then also trying really hard to create content around, larger keywords. And I say that because sometimes we can get afraid. So I'll go back to the example of backpacks. You may say, well, I don't want to write content about backpacks if you own a backpack store, of course. I don't want to write content about backpacks because if I do, there's JanSport. There's so many backpack companies out there. I cannot possibly compete. But if you're always creating content around backpacks and JanSport is not always creating content, eventually Google's going to say, you know what? They're adding more valuable information to the industry than even this major competitor is. And so either one of two things will happen. You will see your rankings increase, or you'll see other large backpack companies starting to link to your website because of the great information you're sharing. So again, it's a combination. If you are afraid to go after some of those big keywords, that's fine. But just know that if you're aiming lower, you're going to get lower results. And I mean, that's just being completely honest with you.
Yeah, no, that's super helpful. All great stuff. Keep those questions coming, y'all. Stephanie's doing great. Another question. I'm using GoDaddy Website Builder. What kind of SEO optimization do you suggest? Are there limitations for SEO with the website builder like that versus WordPress?
There are some limitations, and the biggest reason why is because sites like Yoast don't even have plugins for them. And then also on the back end, they don't guide you as easily through the meta title and meta description portion. And so then what ends up happening is you have to go into the code to actually be able to get your keywords in. And it just gets a little sticky if you don't know what you're doing. When I first started my website, I actually used a generic website builder, and it got me in trouble. And I took my website down several times before I realized, maybe I need to use something that's going to help guide me through that process. So if you don't have that background or back end expertise to be able to write keywords in code, either hire someone who can do it for you, or I just recommend that you migrate your site over to WordPress if it's not too late.
Great. And we're getting a bunch of questions around platforms. So perfect transition to the next couple questions. Somebody was saying, what about Wix or Squarespace? Is it
same thing? Yeah, same thing as the GoDaddy that they just mentioned as well. Those sites just get a little bit stickier. And I know that lots of people use Squarespace and they use Wix and Shopify because they're cost efficient and they're great starting points. But I will let you know whenever you are ready to make, the transition to managed WordPress, and that's actually what it's called. It's just not WordPress.com, it's managed WordPress. Then there are tools that help you migrate your site. So then you're not having to take your website yourself and pull it over to WordPress. There are options for you to migrate it successfully without breaking anything. But again, Wix, Shopify, Squarespace, all those tools are great aesthetically. It just gets a little bit harder when you're trying to update your SEO and making sure that you're ranking.
Super helpful. Another question from Rodrigo. Thanks for the question, Rodrigo. I know blogging is great for SEO. Could you mention some other methods for those who are just starting and still don't have a lot of content to share?
You should always have content to share, especially once you do that keyword research. And I even recommend that you dig a little bit deeper into your keyword research and you identify what questions people are also asking as it relates to your business. And once you figure out what those questions are, again, the keyword research will tell you literally what questions people are asking. Then what you can do is you can create blog content or even, your typical web pages to answer those questions, or you can have an FAQ page that answers every single one of the questions that you find on Google. There is no such thing as no content. I don't care what kind of business you have. There's always a question being asked about your specific business, and your job is to answer that question. And so until you reach the point that you've answered every single question possible, there's still more content to be written.
Well, that's a great seed for a starting line to look for more content they should be writing about too. Another question here, and this may be an entire other course, but they said, what about MailChimp? I'm guessing they're asking about SEO.
That's email marketing. That's email marketing. So that's a totally different ball game.
Yeah.
But I think MailChimp is great.
Same. I think, yeah, that's a whole nother class, and we've got a bunch of those on YouTube. So go check them out. Is there a way to boost SEO using meta descriptions for social content, i.e. embedding?
No, I mean, unless you're the owner of Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, no, because you can't control, because even if, let's say, you know, I'm going to use myself an example. If someone were to search Stephanie Alston, my Instagram might come up, or my Twitter is going to come up. Well, I can't control that meta description as much as I want to. Typically what happens is Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, they'll take from your bio. So I guess in a way, if you do want to make sure that your meta description is good, you want to make sure your bio is good. I mean, that's the best piece of advice I can give you, but there's no way you can go into the back end of those sites to change the meta description to fit what you would like for it to fit.
Awesome. Let's see, to what extent is it true that WordPress websites by default have more SEO benefit versus Shopify and the other ones you mentioned? I've heard a couple of developers mention this. I'm not sure if it's true. I'm not sure if and how this may be true.
I don't actually know, but in my mind, I feel like WordPress and Google have some sort of like relationship. And so that's why they rank. I mean, that's why, you know, WordPress sites rank higher. Also, you know, it's worth noting that WordPress has a very high domain authority because they've been around much longer than Shopify and Squarespace and some of these other places out there. And so just by default, you know, Google is going to show more attention and favoritism towards those websites. But like you said, I've also heard those conversations about WordPress sites ranking higher. And I mean, there's a lot of truth to that, but I don't really know why, other than, like I said, my conspiracy theory is that they work together in some capacity.
Hey, I think your hypothesis is pretty close to what it is, but we can't say because we don't really know. Another question, keep the questions coming in. These are great. Did you already talk about how social media posts impact your website's SEO? What if my friend links my website into her Instagram post description or Instagram story?
If your friend does that, that's really nice of her, but there's really no impact to SEO. I mean, not unless your friend, I'm just going to say hypothetically, has millions of followers, then it could look good to have maybe your link on her page look good from you from a social media standpoint, but in terms of traffic, it's not going to do anything to give that boost.
Great. Yeah, that is very kind of their friend, but no SEO. What's the biggest mistake you see people make regarding SEO?
Thinking it's not important. That's number one. I mean, I've had so many conversations with people where I'm like, oh, your SEO sucks. And they'll say, well, I don't know what that means. My website looks good. And it does. Aesthetically, it's amazing. But it doesn't mean anything if no one can actually see it, you know? And I think of it as going down the road and you have, you know, a beautiful, you know, brick and mortar that's been built, but it's like hidden behind thousands of trees. It could be there all day, but like if I don't know it's there, it doesn't take away from its beauty. It just means I don't know it's there. And the same thing is, you know, with SEO is that you have to make sure that you prioritize it and, you know, utilize all the tools that I provided you with in order to make sure that, one, you increase your SEO, but most importantly, that people even know you're there. I know there was a question that I saw coming through early on where someone asked, you know, can you use some of these resources before your site launches? And the answer is yes. There are ways for you to be able to do that. And I encourage you to do that. Like if you can catch problems before your site goes live, that puts you in a better position to be successful and to make sure that you're starting off on the right path to getting good traffic to your website.
I love that. And also, just personally curious, Have you used, or do you like using the resource Hotjar?
I have not used Hotjar in so long, but I did enjoy it when I worked on the agency side of things. It made my life a lot easier, but I don't use it these days, so I couldn't even tell you what some of the new updates are for it. But yes, I highly recommend Hotjar, especially.
Yeah, one of our, and just for those who don't know about it, one of our advisory board members recommends it. Hotjar is a free up to 100 sessions tool to see how people navigate your website. So figuring out where they're going as far as buttons, and that can help you understand where people are drawn to. And if they're missing the buy now or learn more link, it'll help you understand if you need to make it a different color, where you need to put it up top or the bottom. So yeah, I highly recommend it. And you can delete your first 100 sessions to not convert and then do another 100. So that's a little free hack for you all.
And you guys, in case you are a little bit familiar with Hotjar, another way that you can search for other resources that also do the same thing is they're actually called heat maps. So being able to identify heat maps. Yep.
Heat maps, awesome. All right, well, got another question coming in. How does Hotjar work with today's cookies and settings and regulations? I have no idea. That's but I'm sure you could check out some more recent Hotjar expertise online from Googling it. Does the domain name registrar and hosting provider provide or no?
I know. I understand the question.
Yeah. Does the domain name and registrar hosting provider affect one's SEO?
Yes. Hosting provider, no. Name register, yes. Yes, it does. Not tremendously, but it helps. But it's also one of the reasons why, I'm ashamed to say this, I hoard lots of domain names because I know that at some point they will become extremely valuable. And so I will say be very intentional. That's why if you are a brand, whether you're a personal brand or the CEO, it's always good for you at least at a minimum to buy your name, just in case you decide to do something with it. Because again, when people are searching for you, the number one thing that would come up if you own your name would be yourname.com. But the same goes, for your business. You think about even a website like Kayak, and going back to the example of cheaphotels.com, there is actually a cheaphotels.com website and it ranks pretty high. So there is something to be said about actually buying the domain for the keyword that you're hoping to rank for. And even if, I'm just, again, going back to the example of cheaphotels.com, if you are a hotel, you can own the domain for your hotel name and also own the domain for Cheap Hotels and just redirect it to your website. So again, that's just a little trick, if you decided that you wanted to buy multiple keywords.com.
That is a nice trick. Great advice.
Oh my gosh.
And then somebody said I sold a domain name for 12 grand a year ago. Never planned on selling it. Well, great, Rick. That's an awesome win for you. I don't think anybody would want callingmayhem.com, but I'm thinking about buying it now.
you never know. You never know.
Awesome, Stephanie. Well, we're almost at time. If somebody were to walk away with one thing today, what would that one takeaway be from you?
Start now. I think we always wait for that proverbial moment of when we should start. We wait for that aha moment. And I just say start now. Of course, as it relates to SEO, but even on your business journey, I'm sure there are people on here who maybe have not fully taken the leap into entrepreneurship. And if you haven't, that's okay. But just know that by joining this webinar today is that first start that you desperately needed. So start now. Don't wait until tomorrow because tomorrow may never come. Just start right now.
That is great advice. Well, Stephanie, it's been great hanging out and learning from you. Thank you so much for dedicating your time and expertise to the attendees that we've got. For those of you who are still on, we'd love to hear your feedback and for you to join our future events. So just check out the links in the chat. But Stephanie, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a great one.
You too. And to everyone out there, you have a great rest of your week.